going to be the first of two videos that are showing you how to navigate and look at some of the tools I want you to look at on the National Hurricane Center website. So this first video is going to show you steps 1 through 6, and that's navigating some of the archives that I want you to look at. And then the next video will show you steps 7 through 13 and show you how to look at different advisory graphics. So first we're going to start here at the National Hurricane website, which is hurricanes.gov. It sends you to this website here, nhc.noaa.gov, but hurricanes.gov works as well. So if you type in hurricanes.gov, it sends you to the same website. So what I want to show you really quickly before we jump into this is the National Hurricane Center website. And so this is where you can get information about any hurricane, named storm, anything that's going on. So whenever you have like a Hurricane Katrina or a Hurricane Irma or a Hurricane Harvey, the information about that storm can be accessed on this website. And this is usually the first place I go to when I'm interested in looking at hurricane information, because these are the guys that make the hurricane information. These are the men and women who make the hurricane information. All the other sites, Weather Underground or the Weather Channel, they get the information secondhand. So this is usually your first place to go for hurricane information. And just a little bit about the National Hurricane Center. The National Hurricane Center makes hurricane predictions, hurricane and tropical storm predictions for the Atlantic Ocean Basin, which is what this map is showing right here, as well as for the Eastern Pacific Ocean Basin, and that's this map here. And the reason why they do this is these are the two basins where storm systems that will affect the United States, the lower 48 of the United States, most likely. And in fact, most storms usually form in the Atlantic. Every so often a storm will form in the Eastern Pacific and could potentially affect the United States, but usually most of the catastrophic storms form in the Atlantic. Okay, now let's actually get into the business of this particular module assignment. So what I want you to do is, right here on this page, at the top, you have the National Hurricane Center banner, and then beneath that, you have these different drop-down menus. I want you to hover your cursor over to the Archives menu, and then move your cursor down to Tropical Weather Outlooks. And when you click on that, what that's actually going to take you to is an archive bank of all of the tropical weather outlooks. And it always starts by showing you the current outlook. And right now, there's nothing really interesting going on as I'm making this video, so we're not going to look at this. Instead, what we're going to do is we are going to scroll down, and beneath the map, there's a brief discussion telling you what's out there. And right now, as you see, it just says practically nothing. Tropical storm formation not expected during the next 5 days. So if you're going on a cruise in the next 5 days, awesome. You're going to be fine. But what I want you to do is I want you to click on List of Atlantic Outlooks, July 2014 to the present. So rather than looking at our current outlook, we're going to look at a past outlook. So click on that, and that's going to take you to this long menu. And let me tell you what you're seeing here. So what you're actually seeing here is every one of these links has a date mark to it. It shows you the date, and then the time that the outlook was issued. And each one of these is showing you the tropical outlook issued for that date and time. Now what we're going to do is, so far the 2018 season's been pretty boring, and that's when I'm making this video, summer 2018. We're actually going to go back to 2017, which was a very active season. And what I want you to do is actually scroll down, all the way down, until you see 2017, 8/22, 11:51. So this right here, 2017, 8/22, 11:51. And click on that. And what you see is, you see a map very similar to what we were just looking at, but now there's actually some stuff out here. And let me tell you what this stuff is. So what you notice on this map, and we're just going to focus on the Atlantic, is you notice these two blobs. And if you actually hover your cursor over these two blobs, each one will give you information about what's going on in that blob. Now, each one of these blobs represents an area of potential tropical cyclone development. So these are two areas that are being monitored by the National Hurricane Center for potential development. One of the things you'll notice, though, is that they each have a different color shading to them. One of them has a yellow colored shading, the other one has a red colored shading. What this means, and you can actually see it down here on this legend, is this indicates the probability that something is going to actually develop. When you see yellow shading, that represents a low probability. Usually anything below 40%. Usually 0 to 30% is where they go with that. Orange would represent a moderate chance of development, and a red would represent a high chance of development. Now, we're not going to look at the yellow area right here. Instead, we're going to hover over this red area right here. And when you hover over this red area, you get some information on this particular area and what's going on here. You get a brief discussion saying, okay, what's currently happening, what's expected to happen, and then at the bottom of this little box here, you see these two things that say formation chance through 48 hours and formation chance through 5 days. Take a look at both of those things, and those will tell you, okay, what could happen in the next 48 hours, and then what can happen in the next 5 days. And so that's what we're looking at right now. And so what we're seeing right now is, because it's red, that represents a high chance of development. And so somewhere over this area, over this shaded blob, we are likely going to see some kind of tropical cyclone formation. Now I'll have you scroll back over, I'll have you hover back over and get the information on what's expected to happen. Some of the questions that you're being asked are actually based on that. But this is what's giving you this information, or this is this information right now. Down here is the timestamp of this information. So 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Tuesday, August 22nd, 2017. And so what it's saying is that as of that time, there is a high probability that something is going to happen over this region. Now what I'm going to have you do next is I'm actually going to have you step forward in time a few days. In order to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to click back on our browser button, and now I'm going to have you look at an Outlook that was issued 2 days later. And this is 2017 8/24 1454. And I should mention, just real quick to clarify, this 1454, this is actually a universal time coordinate. So it doesn't actually coordinate with the local time. You don't have to worry about that right now, but that's just a little, in case you're wondering, hey, that's not the time that I'm seeing on the map, that's why. So let's click on this, and here's what we see now. So now things are a little bit different. Instead of that red blob, we have this weird, kind of almost like bloated S looking thing. If you've ever played The Sims, it almost looks like a simoleon logo. And as you travel over it, you see something that says Tropical Storm Harvey. And I'm not going to say a whole lot about it, but basically what happened was that area that was forecast to see tropical cyclone development actually saw it. And a storm formed, and the storm's name is Harvey. And so that's really all you need to know for these first 6 steps. The next thing I'm going to have you do in the next video is I'm going to show you how to actually look at more details about this particular storm. One of the ways that you could do it is by simply clicking on the storm, but I found it sends you to a broken link, and I don't want to send you to a broken link, so I'm going to show you the other way to get to it. Alright, so that would be in the second video.